Are the Buccaneers the biggest challenge to the Eagles in the NFL?
No. It's the Detroit Lions. I'm not going to be dismissive of what I just saw from the Detroit Lions in Baltimore. That was a dominant performance against a team that I still think is a top 5 team in the NFL in Baltimore. Baltimore scored 30-plus points in each of their games and lost 2 of them. You usually win those, Mad Dog. But the unfortunate part is you played 2 teams that probably going to be there in the end in Buffalo and Detroit, right? And you may have to see Buffalo again. The Lions, that first week against Green Bay gave everybody a lot of pause because of the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator change. And I got to be honest, it did for me as well.
Same here.
They didn't look like the Detroit Lions, right? The physicality wasn't there. The explosive plays wasn't there. Jared Goff, none of the stars had any numbers. If it would have been a semblance of recognition, you'd be like, all right, it's just going to take them some time to work in it. But damn, did they get it going right after that. And then, so we in Baltimore Monday night, right, getting ready for the game. And Kelvin Shepard, the defense coordinator for the Detroit Lions, comes over and we talk for a little while. And it was just something about him that I was like, that's a lot of confidence to play against Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
That's good insight.
3rd week of the season. Got a lot of confidence. I said, how is Aiden Hutchinson doing? He was like, he's 100. That was his answer. He's 100. And it was just that aura that they built, that Dan Campbell has built, is back in Detroit. Now, I don't know if it was ever lost, but it looked like it in week 1. That's going to be a dominant team, and I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit represents the NFC in the Super Bowl. Still got Philly number 1, because Philly has won so many games and figures out ways to win them. But this iteration of Detroit is the most dangerous team to Philly.
No question about it. I completely agree with you. And I'm going to use the same energy because we fear here on First Take. I was all over John Moen, offensive coordinator, after week 1 because I'm like, listen, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery, Goff. You have all the pieces in place that you had over the last 2 or 3 years when Ben Johnson was there as the offensive coordinator. You can't go out there and wet the bed in the opener against the Green Bay Packers and look the way that they looked. So I was calling them out. Just like I called them out, now we got to give him some love.
No doubt.
He's the right man for the job. He's showing that he's proven that Dan Campbell made the right decision by letting him succeed, Ben Johnson, even instead of Ekstrand, who we looked at in week 1 for the New York Jets as the offensive coordinator, and we like, did you pick the wrong dude? Well, that didn't happen. Having said all of that, I think you're absolutely right about the Detroit Lions. I view them as the number 1 threat, but I don't want to dismiss Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, who's been balling for a couple of years. And I know Evans is going to be out for the next 3 to 4 weeks with his hamstring injury, but you got Evans, Godwin, and Ibuka when it really, really counts. With Baker Mayfield flinging that football. Worth is coming back for the first time now at your left tackle spot. So you've got that secure as well. I'm just looking at Tampa Bay, and I'm saying they can beat anybody. I don't have them as the favorite over Philly. I don't have them as the favorite over the Detroit Lions, but they're going to have Detroit in their schedule. The only thing I would say about Tampa Bay is this, too, as well. A +6 point differential for a 3-0 start to a team is the smallest in NFL history. All right? They won the games in like 59 seconds left, like 6 seconds left, and at the buzzer.
Weren't great teams.
Against the Falcons, the Texans, and the Jets. So, again, the jury is still out on them. I would say Detroit is the answer to this question.
What I was going to say.
Before you, though, Mad Dog, there's an argument you can make that the Rams still are the
100% right. Don't rule out San Francisco either.
I am.
They got a lot of guys banged up. Now, Bosa's injury is a major problem.
That's a major problem.
Rams have lost 3 times in the last 10 months to this Eagles team.
And 2 of them they could have won. I mean, the first game they got killed. But you guys hit it right in the head. The Bucs, listen, I can't go crazy. They won 1 game, the teams they've beaten. They're 1-8. Atlanta and the Texans and, of course, the Jets. So I can't go too crazy. To me, the Bucs are really about Mayfield, and that's the story for them. The Lions, it's about a team. The defense, the offense, the quarterback, the running game, Campbell. The Bucs, their start is really the Ohio State kid's shown up too, but it's really about Mayfield. 4th quarter, chip on his shoulder, running on 4th and 10 for the first down against Houston. It's really about what he is doing more so than quote unquote team. The Lions, it's about the club. So that's the reason I would not make Tampa a legitimate threat to win the NFC.
I just want to remind everybody, and I know Philly came away with the win. The Rams were lining up for a field goal to win the game.
Of course.
So that that is not as far away from that being the contender to the Philadelphia
I think the Rams
Eagles.
are very,
and they
very
were
dangerous.
dominant for a large part of that game.
I think the Rams, I mean, I think if you rank the NFC right now, I think you got to put Philly 1.
Lions, Rams.
I think you're right.
Yep.
I agree.
I would go Philly, Lions, Rams, and I would go, you wouldn't, I would go San Francisco 4.
And I would
go Tampa 5.
I would go Tampa 4 and San Francisco 5.
I would echo you guys. I was the biggest critic of that Lions team after week 1, and Jared Goff has proceeded to kick my teeth in.
Oh, he's played great. He's done a great job.
Thanks, Jared.
He's played really well.
I am actually very frustrated and agreeing with y'all so much. Like we got
another hour.
Certain things
Well,
can't
you're
be done.
dealing
You
with
can't-
certain-
A cut above, a blocked field goal to score. And I'm not going to downplay, but I'm going to be realistic. Who was expecting that type of outcome? And it was definitely jaw-dropping. But when you have teams like the Detroit Lions, when you have teams like Green Bay Packers, when you have teams like Tampa Bay, obviously when you have teams like the Los Angeles Rams, these teams can generate offense, and that's going to be the nemesis that will be able to compete with teams like, or the team like Philadelphia Eagles. Am I going to snip their wings? Absolutely not, because they are a team that can find different ways to win football games. And you need that type of genetic to be able to, really have a deep playoff push. And that's what we've been able to see.
Peter, do you think this Eagles team is on a playing field all on their own in the NFC?
Well, they've won 13 straight games. They haven't lost since September of last year. And when you look at the Rams yesterday, I think the Rams, everyone was picking the Rams. This was the Rams game to win. They're up 3 scores. They stopped Saquon. They dominated the run game, and they still lost because Jalen Hurts outplayed Matthew Stafford. I do think the Eagles deserve their flowers and are on a tier above the rest of the conference right now. But Cam did mention one team that has had the Eagles' number in recent years, and it's a bit of a surprise. The last 2 times the Buccaneers have played the Eagles, the Buccaneers have won. They beat them in a playoff game. And then last year in September, they absolutely blew them out on a Monday Night Football game. I look at Tampa Bay, who's all banged up right now and has guys playing, practice squad guys playing offensive line, and have beat not exactly world beaters to get to 3-0. And yet, when they go face-to-face against the Eagles, all of those guys know, hey, we're not scared of them. There's not going to be some weird block kick. We're not going to be the ones who are going to be bullied around. Buccaneers, if you have a mental edge on anybody, the Buccaneers might have it over the Eagles because they've gotten their number the last 2 times. I know a lot has changed in between the last 2 times they've played, and now, that said, if I'm the Packers, I got blown out by the Eagles in a playoff game last year. If I'm the Rams, I've lost the last 3 times I've played the Eagles on an equal playing field. So the one team I would even put in the conversation is the Buccaneers because of those guys and those veterans who have already beaten that Eagles team the last 2 times they played.
Hey guys, obviously it's a wait and see attitude because I got the Baltimore Ravens winning the Super Bowl this year. I got Lamar Jackson capturing his first Super Bowl championship and a Super Bowl MVP. The likelihood is that it'll be against the Eagles. But in the same breath, we can't summarily dismiss the Detroit Lions, even though they've, got 7 coaches that, departed, and 2 of them was your coordinators offensively and defensively, and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, because they got head coaching jobs. We've got a team like the Los Angeles Rams with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford with Puka Nacua, who can deliver the goods. We've got Baker Mayfield, assuming he's healthy, assuming Evans and Godwin and Ibuka are healthy. They can certainly make some noise. We can't summarily dismiss that. We get all of that. But here's the reason why this question is warranted. Eagles finished. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they have won 17 straight. Now, we can't ignore that. And they're not one-dimensional in how they beat you. 1 minute is Saquon Barkley running roughshod over everybody. Another minute he's quiet, but A.J. Brown is looking like a man amongst boys. Or Goddard is getting open. Or Devontae Smith is showing you that him and A.J. Brown are a dynamic tandem at the wideout spot. Or Jalen Carter is getting a sack. Or he's blocking a field goal along with Jordan Davis and 6'6", 336 pounds, running, at 18.59 seconds an hour. This is what we're seeing from these cats, okay? You're finding different ways that they elevate themselves in the moment. So many times, Cam, Peter, y'all know this. Peter covering the game the way that you do. Cam playing the game the way that you did. It's one thing to do what you do. It's another thing to do it in moments. Imagine, Cam, if en route to a Heisman, en route to an undefeated record when you won the Heisman and won the national championship, en route to being the first overall pick in an NFL draft, and literally carrying the franchise on your back to a 15-1 record and ultimately a Super Bowl appearance. If in multiple consistent moments, no matter how great you were during the regular season, when the moment arrived, you shrunk. Imagine if that was true, okay, and how they would look at you. Well, we don't say that about Jalen Hurts. We see Jalen Hurts going to a Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes a few years ago, and if they had won the game, they lost 38-35, he would have been the MVP because he balled out. We saw him last year show up against Patrick Mahomes and be one of only 3 quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes' career to beat him in the postseason, the other 2 being Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. This is what we're seeing. And we're seeing an Eagles team that's showing a myriad of ways to take you out. So the question is warranted. It just can't be answered until the season's over.
I would add,